Welcome to Monk's Temple. Imagine a mountain. Not a rugged, sharp peak, but a wide, ancient, gently sloping mountain. Its base is broad and unshakable, rooted deep into the heart of the earth. Its summit is often hidden in soft clouds, but it is always there, present, unwavering. Seasons change at its feet, storms rage, winds howl, flowers bloom and wither, rivers swell and recede. Yet the mountain simply is. It does not chase the storms or cling to the spring blossoms. It holds it all within its vast, silent presence. Your mind, your truest self, can be like this mountain. The world around you, the words of others, their moods, their demands, the endless stream of events, this is the weather at the mountain's base. It is real. It can be fierce. But it is not the mountain. The mountain's nature is stillness, solidity, and a deep, patient knowing. Tonight, we begin our journey not by fighting the weather, but by discovering the mountain within you. We explore an ancient understanding, a foundational truth known as an ata, or non-self. This is not a cold philosophy of nothingness. It is the liberating realization that you are not the small, fragile story your thoughts tell you, nor are you the reflection you see in the eyes of others. You are the vast space that holds the story. You are the sky that holds the weather. When someone speaks to you from a place of anger, criticism, or pettiness, they are speaking from their own inner climate. They are caught in a personal storm front of their past hurts, their present fears, their unhealed wounds. Their words are like rain hurled from their cloud. If you are identified as a small figure standing on open ground, you will feel drenched, battered, cold. You will believe the storm is for you, about you. But what if you could remember you are the sky? The sky holds the storm cloud. It allows it to exist. It may even darken momentarily as the cloud passes. But the sky is not of the cloud. The sky does not become angry or fearful. It remains vast, boundless, fundamentally untouched. The cloud, born of temporary conditions, will eventually dissipate. The sky remains. A man named Elias, a schoolteacher in a coastal town in Crete, lived this. He had a neighbor, an older fisherman named Giannis, who had grown bitter with years of hard luck and aching joints. Giannis's default language was gruff complaint. He would shout at children whose ball rolled into his yard, mutter about Elias's well-kept garden, and find fault with the pace of modern life. For years, Elias took it personally. He felt targeted, disrespected. He tried overly cheerful greetings, which were met with grunts. He tried avoidance, which felt cowardly. The neighbor's bitterness became a thorn in Elias's own peace. One morning, Elias saw Giannis sitting alone on the breakwall at dawn, staring at the sea with a look of such profound, lonely sorrow it stopped Elias in his tracks. It was a raw, unguarded moment. Later that day, when Giannis barked a complaint about the noise from Elias's classroom during recess, something was different. Elias heard the same harsh tone, but instead of feeling the sting, he saw, truly saw, the old man on the wall. The sorrow beneath the bark. He saw a man who felt the world had passed him by, whose body ached, whose life had not turned out as hoped, and whose only sense of agency was in voicing disapproval. Elias smiled, a small, genuine smile that held no confrontation. "It is a lively bunch," he said calmly. "The sea is loud today too." He nodded and walked on. He hadn't agreed or disagreed. He hadn't absorbed the criticism. He had simply acknowledged the weather without becoming it. He had remained the sky. From that day, Elias interacted with Yanis from that place of sky-like spaciousness. He'd offer a simple, "Good morning," help him carry his nets if his hands were full, with no expectation of a change in tone. Over months, the barbs grew less frequent. Eventually, Yanis began to simply nod in return. The storm in him hadn't vanished, but Elias was no longer standing in its rain. He had found his own altitude. This is the first and most profound key. Nothing is personal. It only feels personal when you mistake yourself for the small figure on the ground, not the boundless sky above. The insult, the cutting remark, the passive aggression, these are fragments of someone else's inner world, projected outward. You are merely the screen. The movie is theirs. To practice this is not to become uncaring. It is to care from a place of wisdom, not wounding. You can see a person's pain clearly, which is the root of true compassion, without needing to stick your hand into their fire to prove you feel their heat. Your peace becomes the stable ground from which you can offer a true, non-reactive presence. Before we journey deeper into the landscape of the heart, if this refuge of understanding speaks to you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. By subscribing, you plant a flag on this path, making it easier to return, and you join a quiet community of others learning to dwell in peace. Now, let us continue. We've spoken of the sky. Now let's tend to the soil. For the sky's clarity is one thing, but how do we prepare the ground of our own hearts so that when harsh winds blow, they don't scatter our seeds or uproot our peace? We do this through a practice called metta, or loving kindness. This is our second teaching, and it is the cultivation of an unshakable inner warmth that acts as your truest armor. The instinct, when faced with toxicity, is to harden. To build a fortress, to don emotional plate mail. But fortresses are cold places to live, and armor grows heavy. Metta proposes a radical alternative: protect yourself not by becoming harder, but by becoming so softly, radiantly bright that darkness cannot persist in your vicinity. Not by fighting the shadows, but by increasing the light. Think of your mind as a fertile field. Left unattended, it will grow whatever seeds land on it: seeds of resentment from a rude interaction, seeds of anxiety from a demanding email, seeds of old hurts watered by new slights. The weeds of negative mind states will thrive. You can exhaust yourself trying to weed constantly, but they will return. Metta is the practice of consciously planting, nurturing, and cultivating a different crop. You deliberately sow seeds of goodwill, kindness, and benevolent wishes. You tend them daily. You water them with your attention. As this crop grows lush and strong, it simply leaves no room, no sunlight, no nutrients for the weeds to take root. You aren't at war with negativity, you have simply made the environment inhospitable to it by filling it with something else entirely. This cultivation begins, and always returns to, the soil of your own being. You cannot offer genuine kindness from an empty vessel. The practice starts with you. Find a comfortable position. Let your body be supported. Bring your awareness gently to the center of your chest, to the feeling of your breath moving in and out. Place a hand over your heart if it feels comforting, feeling the steady, faithful rhythm that has carried you through every moment of your life. Now, silently, gently, offer these phrases to yourself. There is no need to force a feeling. Just offer the words like gentle rain, letting them soak in. May I be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May I be peaceful and deeply at ease. May I be healthy and strong in body, heart, and mind. May I live with kindness and with joy. Repeat them. Let them resonate. If a part of you whispers that you are not worthy of such care, offer that part metta too. This is not about achieving a feeling, it is about setting an intention, tending the soil. Once this wish for your own well-being feels established, bring to mind someone you love without complication, a child, a dear friend, a beloved pet. See their face. Feel your natural affection for them. Extend the same wishes outward. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with joy. Next, bring to mind a neutral person, someone you see but don't really know. The bus driver, the person who served you coffee, a face in a crowd. Wish them well, recognizing their humanity, their own journey. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. Now, the practice deepens, becomes transformational. Bring to mind someone difficult. Start gently. Not your greatest adversary, but perhaps someone who irritated you today, a colleague with a grating habit, a relative with a judgmental tone. As you offer the phrases, may you be safe. May you be peaceful. Understand this crucial point, you are not condoning their behavior. You are not signing up for more mistreatment. You are performing an act of radical self-protection. You are refusing to let their actions plant a seed of hatred, resentment, or anger in your garden. You are protecting the sanctity of your own inner field. You are filling the space they occupy in your mind with a conscious, chosen energy of non-harm, so their toxicity has nowhere to latch on. There was a software engineer in Helsinki named Lena. Her project manager, Petri, was a master of volatility. His mood dictated the team's atmosphere. One day effusively praising, the next day tearing down work he'd previously approved, his critiques often personal and delivered publicly in video calls. The team lived on eggshells. Lena felt a knot of dread before every meeting with him. After learning of metta, she began a committed practice each morning during her walk to the sauna. Herself, her wife, the bakery owner, then Petri. May you be safe, Petri. May you be peaceful. It felt absurd, even disloyal to her own sense of injustice. But she persisted, remembering she was weeding her own mind. Weeks later, in a project review, Petri launched into a familiar tirade about a missed detail, his voice sharp. Lena felt the old flush of shame and anger rise. But then, something new happened. Beneath the heat, she felt the solid ground of her morning intention. She saw him not as a monster, but as a man trapped in a prison of his own stress and insecurity, lashing out at the walls. His words, which once felt like arrows, now felt like pebbles thrown against a thick, soft curtain of the goodwill she had cultivated. They lost their velocity. She took a quiet breath, nodded, and said, "I see the oversight. I'll correct it and add a review step." Her voice was calm, factual, unruffled. Petri, expecting defensiveness or fear, was left with nothing to push against. The energy of the confrontation dissipated. Lena's metta practice hadn't changed Petri, but it had fundamentally changed her inner ecosystem. His negativity could no longer find fertile soil in her. She had become, in a very real sense, immune. Her inner garden was so lush with deliberately planted kindness that his weeds of aggression could not take root. This is not passivity. It is immense, quiet power. We have begun by finding the mountain within and tending the inner garden. But what happens when the storm arrives suddenly? When the harsh word lands before you can remember the sky, when you haven't had time to cultivate the garden? In that sharp, immediate moment, you need a tool that is always with you, a bridge back to yourself. This bridge is your breath. The practice is anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. This is our third teaching, and it is the art of creating sanctuary in the space between a trigger and your reaction. In that critical sliver of time, after the insult, during the demanding interruption, amid the surge of panic, lies your entire freedom. Most people live as if this space doesn't exist. The stimulus hits, and the reaction fires like a knee-jerk reflex. It feels automatic, inevitable. They made me so angry. I had to respond. But this is an illusion. There is a gap. It is thin, often overlooked, but it is there. And within that gap, you can build a world of choice. Your breath is the architect of that gap. Think of it as a pendulum. When you are triggered, the pendulum of your nervous system is swung sharply toward fight or flight, a state of high alert, reactivity, and defensiveness. Your heart races, your thoughts scramble, your vision narrows. In this state, you are not choosing, you are reacting from a primal script. A single, conscious, elongated breath acts as a gentle, steady hand on that pendulum. It slows its wild swing. It begins to guide it back toward center, toward rest and digest, a state of calm awareness where you can see clearly, think wisely, and choose your response. The breath is the lever that moves you from being a prisoner of reactivity to becoming an author of your actions. This isn't a complicated technique. It is the simplest thing in the world, made profound by your intention. Let's practice it now, not in theory, but in the reality of your body. Wherever you are, pause. Don't change your breath yet. Just notice it. Is it shallow, resting high in your chest? Or is it deep, moving your belly? Is it quick or slow? Simply observe without judgment. Now, take one deliberate breath. In through your nose, slowly, to a silent count of 4. Feel the cool air entering. Let it fill your abdomen first, then your ribcage. Pause gently at the top, for just a moment of stillness. Then, exhale through your nose or softly parted lips, even more slowly, to a count of 6 or 8. Feel the warm air leaving. Feel your shoulders soften, your jaw unclench, your belly release. Let the exhale carry any tension out with it. Just one breath. Done consciously. Notice what has shifted. Your heart rate has likely slowed a fraction. The tight band of anxiety around your chest may have loosened. The frantic thoughts have settled like snow in a paperweight. This is not magic. It is physiology. A long, controlled exhale activates your vagus nerve, the central command of your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in peacekeeper. You are, quite literally, switching your biological state from war to peace with the movement of air. A young lawyer in Nairobi, Amani, used this as her secret weapon. She was in a high-stakes negotiation for a community land rights case. The opposing counsel, an older man accustomed to bullying his way to victory, began to personally attack Amani's competence, her youth, even her ethics, hoping to fluster her into a mistake. Amani felt the heat of humiliation and rage flood her body. Her mind screamed with retorts. The old script was to fight fire with fire, to match his aggression. But she had trained for this. In the pause after his tirade, while all eyes were on her, she did not speak. She looked down at her notes, as if considering his points, and took one slow, silent, full breath. In for 4, out for 8. In that breath, the storm of reaction settled. She saw his tactic for what it was, weather. She felt her own ground beneath her, the mountain. When she looked up, her eyes were clear, her voice steady and low. "I will address the merits of the case, not the personalities," she said. "The evidence on page 37 speaks directly to your client's claim." She proceeded, unshakable, factual, calm. Her composed clarity was more powerful than any shouted defense. The attack had failed because it found no reactive fuel in her. The single breath had created a moat of calm around her wisdom. The beauty of the breath is its constant availability. You cannot always walk away. You cannot always meditate. But you can always breathe. It is your portable sanctuary. The Buddha taught this not only to monks in silent halls but to merchants in noisy markets, to parents in crowded homes. Because life does not issue triggers on a convenient schedule. Let this be a practice for the week. Before you hit send on a charged email, take one conscious breath. Before you respond to a provocation, take one conscious breath. Before you walk into a difficult room, take 3 conscious breaths in the car or on the sidewalk. You are not avoiding action. You are ensuring your action comes from the deepest, clearest part of you, not from the temporary turbulence on the surface. From the anchor of the breath, we gain the stability to see clearly. And clear seeing leads us to our 4th teaching, the wisdom of Yoniso Manasikara, wise reflection or careful attention. This is the lamp you shine on any confusing, painful, or triggering situation to see what is actually there, stripped of the stories fear and habit want to tell. Most of our suffering in relationships comes from what we could call unwise attention. We attend to the loudest signal, our own panic, their dramatic demand, the gripping story of what this means about me. We ask the wrong questions. How do I make this stop? How do I get them to change? What did I do wrong? Wise reflection asks a different set of questions, a clarifying filter. First, what is actually happening here? Not the story, not the history, not the fear. Just the bare, observable facts of this moment. Second, what is my genuine responsibility in this situation? Separate this from what I feel responsible for out of guilt, obligation, or old patterns. Third, what is their responsibility that I might be incorrectly carrying? And fourth, what is the most skillful, compassionate action that honors the truth of both of us? Consider the story of Anika, a midwife running a clinic in a bustling neighborhood of Jakarta. Her sister, Sari, who lived in their childhood home, had a pattern of emergencies. The roof was leaking, again, a debt collector was at the door, again, she felt dizzy and alone, again. Each time, she would call Anika, who would drop her patience, drive across the city, fix, pay, or soothe. Anika was exhausted, her own work suffering, and she harbored a deep, unspoken resentment. After a particularly draining crisis that turned out to be a minor plumbing issue Sari could have handled, Anika sat in her empty clinic, utterly spent. A mentor had spoken to her about wise reflection. She took out a notebook and applied the questions. What is actually happening? My adult sister is encountering a manageable life problem and, instead of solving it, is calling me to solve it for her. What is my genuine responsibility? To be a loving sister. To offer emotional support and advice if asked. To help in a genuine, life-threatening emergency. What is her responsibility that I am carrying? The responsibility to manage her home, her finances, her emotional resilience. The responsibility to develop her own problem-solving skills. What is the skillful action? To compassionately stop enabling this dependency, which harms us both, and to support her in growing her own capabilities. The next time Sari called about a catastrophic electricity bill, Anika did not reach for her purse. She listened. Then she said, with loving firmness, "That sounds stressful, Sari. What's your plan to handle it? I can talk through options with you this evening if you like." There was shock, then tears, then anger. "But you always help. What's wrong with you?" Anika held steady, her heart aching but clear. "I am helping. I'm helping by believing you can handle this. I love you, and I am not going to pay this bill." It was a tectonic shift. Months of strained silence followed. But gradually, Sari began to solve her own problems. She got a second job. She learned to budget. A year later, she told Anika, with a new hardness in her eyes, "I hated you then. But I'm proud of me now." Anika's wise reflection had allowed her to see the dynamic with clarity, not guilt. It freed her sister to find her own strength and saved their relationship from the poison of resentment. Wise reflection is your internal compass. When you are lost in the emotional fog of a difficult person's behavior, pause. Breathe. Then ask these questions. The answers will not always be easy, but they will be clear. And clarity is the first step toward freedom. We have learned to find the mountain, tend the garden, build the bridge of breath, and shine the lamp of wise reflection. Now, from that place of inner clarity, we encounter a profound and often misunderstood form of strength. It is not the strength of the shout, but of the deep, quiet harbor. It is the power of noble silence, Arya Tunhiba, and the compassionate art of the boundary. These are our fifth and sixth teachings, and they are two sides of the same coin, the ability to protect your peace without a war. Noble silence is not the silence of having nothing to say. It is not the silence of defeat, suppression, or seething resentment. It is the silence that comes from a profound understanding that some things need no defense, that your inner peace is not a thesis to be argued before a hostile court, and that your calm, steady presence is the most eloquent response to chaos. Imagine a deep, still forest pool. If someone throws a stone into it, the pool accepts the impact. Ripples move outward in graceful circles. But the pool does not throw a stone back. It does not shout. It absorbs the disturbance and, in its own time, returns to stillness. The depth of the pool is not negated by the ripples, it is demonstrated by them. Your peace can be like this pool. When you are provoked, when your choices are questioned, when your boundaries are tested, the immediate ego impulse is to explain, justify, and defend. To build a logical case for your own right to exist as you are. But in doing so, you often hand over your power. You imply that your peace requires their understanding, that your no needs their approval to be valid. Noble silence is the realization that it does not. Your peace is a sovereign state. It does not issue visas for debate. There was a renowned flute maker in the mountains of Bolivia, an Aymara man named Inti. His flutes were sought for their tone, said to hold the sound of the wind in high passes. A wealthy collector once visited, handling a beautifully simple flute. "It's plain," the collector said dismissively. "Where is the ornamentation? The story? For this price, it should declare itself more." Inti listened. He then took the flute from the man's hands, held it to his lips, and played 3 pure, haunting notes that seemed to still the very air in the room. He lowered the flute, met the collector's eyes with a gentle gaze, and placed the instrument back on its velvet. He said not a single word. His silence was complete. The music was the declaration. The craftsmanship was the story. Any explanation would have been a reduction, an admission that the object needed external validation. His noble silence forced the collector, and all who heard the tale, to confront the essence of the thing itself. The collector, humbled, bought the flute and later said it was the most powerful conversation he'd ever had. Inti's silence protected the integrity of his work and his spirit from the stain of unnecessary argument. In your life, this may look like not engaging in the gossip, not responding to the baiting text message, not justifying your life choices to someone committed to misunderstanding them. It is smiling softly, taking a breath, and consciously choosing not to step onto the battlefield they have laid out. You are not losing, you are preserving the kingdom of your inner quiet. Closely linked to this silent power is the courage to voice a clear, kind limit. This is Samma Kamanta, right action, and it specifically includes the compassionate boundary. We have been culturally misled to believe that spiritual goodness means boundless self-sacrifice, that to be loving is to be endlessly available. This is a recipe for depletion, bitterness, and what is called quiet resentment, a toxin that kills relationships from the inside. True compassion is wise. It is sustainable. It includes you in the circle of care. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot genuinely help others if you have become another casualty needing rescue. Think of your energy, your time, your emotional reserves as a clear, sunlit glade in the heart of a forest. It is a place of restoration and beauty. If every passerby is allowed to camp, build fires, and take what they wish, the glade will soon be trampled, littered, and depleted. A boundary is not a barbed wire fence with "keep out" signs. It is the conscious, gentle stewardship of the space. It is the understanding that the glade must be preserved for its own sake, and for the sake of all who visit it with respect. It might mean posted, simple guidelines: visit peacefully. Take only memories. Leave no trace. The word "no" is a complete sentence. It does not require a treatise of justification. No, I can't take that on. No, that doesn't work for me. No, I need to protect my energy here. Spoken with kindness, It is an act of radical honesty that prevents the slow, corrosive buildup of resentment. It is compassionate to both parties. It protects you from exploitation and protects the other from building a relationship on the shaky ground of your silent suffering. I recall a story of a teacher in Cork, Ireland, named Siobhan. She was the rock for her large family, organizing, counseling, mediating, always available. Her phone was a constant stream of requests. She believed this was her duty, her love. But she was perpetually tired, her own passions for painting and birdwatching long abandoned. She began to have migraines. Her turning point came on a rare solo walk along the wild Atlantic coast. She watched the cliffs stand firm against the ceaseless pounding of the waves. The cliffs did not crumble with every impact, they were shaped by it, but they held their line. They defined the boundary between land and sea. Siobhan realized she had no such line. She was eroding. She decided to become the cliff. She started with one small, firm boundary: I am unavailable on Wednesday evenings. That is my time for painting. She communicated it simply to her family. The pushback was immediate and intense. Guilt was weaponized. Ma'am's too busy for us now. What's so important on a Wednesday? The first few Wednesdays, sitting with her brushes, she felt anxiety, not peace. She had to consciously breathe through the guilt. But she held the line. And a miracle occurred. Her family adapted. The world did not end. Slowly, her migraines lessened. Her energy began to return. And a beautiful thing happened: when she was available, her presence was full, genuine, not frayed and resentful. Her no had sanctified her yes. Her preserved glade became a place she could actually invite others to enjoy, rather than a barren plot she was too exhausted to visit herself. Noble silence and the gentle no are practices of empowered restraint. They are how you honor the sanctity of your inner world. You are not building walls of isolation, you are defining the sacred architecture of your own spirit, so you can engage with the world from a place of wholeness, not depletion. From this place of defined inner sanctity, we can look outward with a new kind of vision. A vision that sees not just the surface behavior of difficult people, but the intricate, moving tapestry of causes behind it. This leads us to our seventh teaching, Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination. This is the profound understanding that no person, no action, exists in isolation. Everyone is a living, breathing confluence of countless streams of cause and condition. That difficult person is not a solid block of difficulty. They are a river formed by tributaries of genetics, childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, past trauma, current stress, unmet needs, fears, dreams, and karma. Their behavior in this moment is the water flowing from that unique watershed. When you truly see this, blame softens into comprehension. You begin to see people as landscapes, shaped by unique and often violent weathers of time. This does not excuse harmful behavior. Responsibility remains. But it explains it. And in that explanation, you find the spaciousness to choose your response from wisdom, not from blind, personal hurt. You can hold two truths at once: I see the pain that causes this behavior, and I will not allow this behavior to harm me. A final story for this part comes from a public librarian in Montreal named Gabriel. An elderly man, Monsieur Leclerc, visited the library daily. He was notoriously cantankerous. He would complain about the chair positions, the volume of whispers, the selection of newspapers. He snapped at volunteers and once made a teenage page cry. The staff dreaded his visits. One day, Gabriel was shelving books in the local history section. He overheard Monsieur Leclerc, thinking he was alone, speaking softly in French to a photograph in a book. It was a picture of the old waterfront. His voice was tender, broken. "We had the best café there, mon amour. You loved the view." He traced the image with a trembling finger. Gabriel later quietly researched. The photo was from the 1950s. Cross-referencing city directories, he discovered a café at that address had been run by a couple named Leclerc. It had burned down in 1961. A newspaper clipping noted a fire, with one fatality, Madame Elodie Leclerc. Suddenly, Gabriel saw not a cranky old man, but a widower who had lost his love, his life's work, and the world he knew in one night. The library, with its strict, quiet order, was perhaps the only place left that felt like a structure he could rely on, and his complaints were a desperate, distorted attempt to control something in a world that had become terrifyingly unpredictable. His harshness was the scar tissue over a decades-old wound. The next time Monsieur Leclerc grumbled about the draft, Gabriel didn't sigh internally. He simply said, "I'll see if I can adjust the vent." "Would you like the chair by the history section? It's quieter there." He met the behavior not as a personal attack, but as a symptom of a deep, old ache. He didn't accept abuse. He once calmly said, "I cannot let you speak to the volunteers that way," but he did so from a place of understanding, not reaction. Over time, a gruff, silent truce formed. Gabriel had seen the tapestry, and it allowed him to respond to the man, not the myth. We have discovered the strength of silent harbors and gentle boundaries. Now, from that place of clear-sighted compassion, we turn to two of the most beautiful and challenging heart practices, upekkha, equanimity, and mudita, sympathetic joy. These are our 8th and 9th teachings. They are the practices that allow us to love without clinging, to care without drowning, and to find peace in the sovereignty of another's journey. First, let us contemplate upekkha. Often mistranslated as indifference, true upekkha is far from it. It is wise, spacious calm. It is the understanding that every being is the captain of their own ship, the gardener of their own plot. You can stand on the shore, you can wave, you can shout warnings if you see a storm on their horizon, but you cannot sail the boat for them. You cannot feel the wind in their sails nor blisters on their hands. To try is to invite mutual drowning. Upekkha is the wisdom to love from the solid ground of your own life. It is love that understands its own limits. Think of a lighthouse. It stands firm on the rocks, its beams sweeping the dark sea. It does not leap into the waves to rescue a foundering ship. Its purpose is not to do the sailing, but to provide a fixed point of reference, a warning, a guide. The ship's crew must still steer, must still navigate. The lighthouse's steady, unwavering presence is its form of love. Powerful, reliable, but respecting the distance between the rock and the sea. This is especially vital in families, where the lines between love and control, help and enmeshment, can blur into suffering. Consider Fatima, a mother in Marrakesh. Her son, Amir, was a dreamer, an artist in a family of accountants and doctors. He wanted to move to Paris to study design. Fatima was terrified. She saw only risk, instability, and the shadow of failure. Her fear manifested as constant criticism of his impractical sketches, pleas for him to study law, and tearful predictions of his loneliness. Her grasping pushed him away. The more she tried to control his course, the more he strained toward the open sea, even if it meant sailing into a storm. A wise elder in the community saw her suffering. He said, "Fatima, you are trying to give him a map for a desert when he is determined to sail an ocean. Can you love the sailor, instead of the destination?" Fatima began to practice upeka. It was agony at first. When Amir spoke of Paris, she would bite back her fears and say, "Tell me about the style you love most." She sent him articles about design exhibitions, not law schools. She prayed not for him to stay, but for him to be guided and safe. She held the vision of his happiness, not her version of it. It transformed their relationship. Amir felt supported, not stifled. And Fatima, releasing the unbearable burden of controlling an outcome she could never truly control, found a new kind of peace. Years later, Amir thrived in Paris. He called her not out of obligation, but with excitement to share his world. Fatima's upeka, her loving, distant lighthouse, allowed her love to become a beacon, not a cage. She learned that sometimes the most profound act of love is to stand steady on your own shore, shining your light, while trusting the sailor to find his way. From the calm, accepting shore of upeka, we can practice the second jewel, mudita, sympathetic or appreciative joy. This is the ability to feel genuine happiness at the good fortune, success, and happiness of others. But its most advanced, and often most needed, application is finding a peaceful acceptance of paths that look nothing like our own, even when we can see rocks ahead. This is not about celebrating poor choices. It is about releasing our stranglehold on the steering wheel of another person's life and trusting that their soul has its own necessary curriculum. It is mudita that allows you to say, "This is not the path I would have chosen for you, but I honor that it is yours to walk. I will find joy in your courage, in your authenticity, even in the lessons your stumbles may bring." Think of the lotus flower. It grows in the mud at the bottom of a pond. It does not fight the mud. It is rooted in it, nourished by it. But it does not stay there. It grows upward, through the dark, resisting water, until it breaks the surface and opens its pristine petals to the sun. It needed the mud, but it was not meant to remain in it. When someone you love is making choices that seem to keep them stuck in the mud, mudita is the wish you hold in your heart, may you find your way to the surface in your own time. May you learn what you need from the depth. I will hold the vision of you blooming, even when all I can see is the murky water. I knew a grandfather in Kyoto, a retired calligrapher named Hiroshi. His granddaughter, Sakura, dropped out of university to become a professional climber of tall buildings and bridges, a rooftopper who took breathtaking, illegal photographs. Hiroshi, whose life was defined by discipline, tradition, and staying within the lines of the scroll, was horrified. He saw only danger, disgrace, and a dead end. His anxiety came out as cold silence when she visited. It created a chasm. Sakura felt judged and unseen. Hiroshi felt his family's legacy slipping away into recklessness. A Zen monk he consulted listened and then said, "You admire the falcon for flying where you cannot, yes? But you worry because she flies near cliffs. Can you admire the flight, while accepting the cliff is part of her sky?" Hiroshi began practicing metta. It was a stretch for his traditional heart. When Sakura next visited, instead of asking about safe jobs, he said, "Show me your most beautiful photograph." She warily showed him a stunning image of dawn over the city from a radio tower. He studied it for a long time. "You have seen a face of the city I never will," he said quietly. "The composition, it has balance." It was the first non-critical thing he'd said about her passion in years. He didn't endorse the danger. But he chose to connect with the beauty she found in it, the skill it required. He began to send her links to photography exhibitions, books on great photographers. He was loving the artist, not the outlaw. Sakura, disarmed by this shift, started visiting more often, sharing her work. She began to talk about safety courses, about maybe one day shooting for documentaries. Hiroshi's metta, his choice to find a thread of genuine appreciation for her authentic path, rebuilt the bridge. He loved the lotus of her spirit, without demanding it grow in his carefully raked garden. Upeka and metta together form the foundation of love that liberates rather than binds. They allow us to be in relationship without being in chains. They teach us that true connection does not require fusion, but can flourish with healthy, respectful distance and sincere joy for the other's unique voyage. Now, how do we maintain this poised, compassionate awareness in the very heat of interaction, when someone is actively trying to pull us into their drama? For this, we turn to a comprehensive, real-time anchoring system, Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is our 10th teaching, and it is your psychological first aid kit for moments of toxicity. When triggered, most people flee into their heads, spinning stories of defense or blame. Satipatthana teaches you to do the opposite, to ground yourself deeper into the direct, physical reality of the present moment. It is a 4-step descent from chaotic thought to embodied peace. First foundation, mindfulness of body, kayanupassana. The moment you feel provoked, drop your attention out of your spinning mind and into your body. Where is the sensation? A clench in the jaw. A knot in the stomach. Heat in the face. A tightening chest. Simply notice. Ah, tension here. This immediately creates a critical inch of space between the trigger and the story. You are no longer the thought, you are the one aware of the sensation that accompanies the thought. Second foundation, mindfulness of feeling, Vedananyupassana. Now, identify the basic, raw, feeling tone of this experience. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Just note it. Unpleasant feeling is present. Not, they are a jerk or, this is unfair, just the bare, sensory experience of unpleasant. This stops you from building a whole skyscraper of narrative on a foundation of a single, passing sensation. Third foundation, mindfulness of mind, Siddhanapassana. Observe the state of your mind itself. Is it angry? Fearful? Confused? Agitated? Note it as an observer, a mind filled with anger has arisen. Crucially, this is not, I am angry, which is an identification, emerging with the state. There is anger. You are the sky noticing the storm cloud. You are not the cloud. Fourth foundation, mindfulness of mental objects, dhamanapassana. See the specific thoughts and old patterns as they arise, without getting tangled in their content. The thought, "I'm not good enough," has appeared. This is the old pattern where I feel I must defend myself to be worthy. See them like subtitles on a movie screen, information to be aware of, not a script you are compelled to act out. A university professor in Bogota, Camila, used this during a hostile faculty meeting. A senior colleague, threatened by her popularity with students, publicly accused her of dumbing down the curriculum to gain approval. Camila felt the sting of the attack, the heat of humiliation. Old insecurities roared. Instead of reacting, she anchored. Body, flush in neck, tight shoulders. Notice. Feeling, highly unpleasant. Note it. Mind is defensive, hurt. Observe it. Mental objects. Thought, he's destroying my reputation. Pattern, I must prove my intelligence. See them, don't become them. This four-step pause, which took mere seconds internally, allowed the wave of reactivity to crest and begin to subside. She saw his attack for what it was, a move in a political game, whether in his atmosphere. She took a sip of water, a deliberate breath, and responded. Her voice was calm, her words focused on her pedagogical philosophy, not his accusation. I appreciate the discussion on academic rigor. My approach is based on inclusive pedagogy, which research shows improves comprehension for all students. I'm happy to share the studies. She offered facts, not fight. Her composed, grounded response, rooted in satipatthana, left his aggression flailing in the air, with nothing solid to connect to. She stayed rooted in her four foundations, and he could not pull her into his chaos. From the poised shores of equanimity and the grounded awareness of mindfulness, we now turn inward to cultivate two more essential strengths, the discernment to choose our engagements wisely, and the daily practice of building an unshakable inner home. These are samavayama, right effort, and bhavana, mental cultivation, our 11th and 12th teachings. First, samavayama, right effort. This is often misunderstood as relentless striving, a grinding push against difficulty. But true right effort is the wisdom of discernment in action. It is knowing where to invest your precious life energy and where to withdraw it. It is understanding that not every conflict deserves your presence, not every argument is worth winning, and not every battle is yours to fight. The Buddha offered a vivid image. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The same is true for the endless need to be right, to have the last word, to win the debate. Each engagement burns your peace first. The revolutionary question born of samavayama is this: do I want to be right, or do I want to be at peace? In many moments, you cannot have both. Arguing to prove a point, to correct a minor misunderstanding, to win, these are expenditures that rarely yield a return of tranquility. They leave you spent, rehearsing conversations in the dark. There is a potent practice related to this called writing the unwritten letter. When you are seething with things you feel you must say, every brilliant retort, every piece of evidence in your defense, every wounded accusation. Sit down and write it all. Pour every ounce of justified anger, every sharp insight, every drop of pain onto the page. Say everything. Hold nothing back. When it is all out, when your hand is tired and your heart feels emptied of the poisonous charge, do not send it. Read it over once. Acknowledge the feelings as valid, as real. Then, safely burn the paper, tear it into confetti, or delete the file. You have expressed the energetic truth of your reaction without launching it into the relational field. You have chosen the integrity of your own emotional release over the fleeting, destructive satisfaction of being right. You have practiced right effort by channeling the energy away from conflict and into catharsis. I recall a story about an elder in a Maori community in New Zealand, a woman named Hannah. She was known as a peacemaker. Two families in the community were locked in a bitter dispute over a piece of ancestral land. Each side came to Hannah, presenting elaborate arguments, historical documents, and emotional appeals, demanding she declare who was right and who was wrong. They wanted a victor and a vanquished. Hannah listened to each family for hours, her face a mask of serene attention. When they finished, breathless and expectant, she said the same thing to both: I hear the depth of your connection to this land. I see the truth in your memories. The land is still beneath our feet. The stars will watch over it tonight. She offered no verdict. She took no side. Frustrated, the families left, but the weight of her neutral, witnessing presence lingered. Without a referee to crown a winner, the energy of the conflict began to diffuse. They eventually returned to her, not to argue, but to sit in her quiet meeting ground. In that shared silence, their own need to win began to feel small and exhausting. Hannah's right effort was in her conscious refusal to be drafted into their war. She conserved her peace and, in doing so, became a vessel large enough to hold their conflict until they could see a way through it themselves. A compromise, respectful to both histories, was later found. Right effort teaches us to protect our energy for what truly nourishes our spirit, our creativity, our deep relationships, our practice, by consciously declining invitations to fruitless combat. It asks, will this matter in a week? Is this person seeking understanding, or just a punching bag? What do I truly gain here? To have the clarity for such discernment, we cannot live in a state of constant reactivity. We need a baseline of inner stability. This is where bhavana, mental cultivation, becomes the cornerstone of everything. Bhavana is the daily, committed practice of training your mind, of building your inner citadel so steadily that it becomes your unshakable home. You cannot control the world or other people, but you can, through consistent practice, cultivate a mind that is not easily shaken by them. This sanctuary is not built in a day of dramatic revelation. It is built through daily, patient effort, like a potter centering clay on the wheel, again and again. Drop by drop, the water pot is filled. Imagine two houses built on the same windy cliff. One is hastily constructed with weak foundations and thin walls. Every gust shakes it, the inhabitants live in constant anxiety, bracing for the next storm. The other is built over time with deep pilings, strong timber, and flexible joints designed to sway without breaking. The same wind blows, but it is experienced as movement, not as threat. The house is secure. Your daily meditation, your mindfulness pauses, your moments of conscious breathing and metta, these are the pilings and beams of your inner house. They are the architecture of resilience. There was a man named Kwame, a fisherman on Lake Volta in Ghana. His life was one of tangible uncertainty, dependent on weather, fish runs, market prices. For years, he lived in a state of low-grade panic, his mood as variable as the lake. Then, an encounter with a traveling teacher introduced him to the concept of anchoring the mind. His practice was simple but ironclad. Every morning, before dawn, he would sit on the prow of his beached boat for 10 minutes. He didn't call it meditation. He called it listening to the night leave. He felt the cool air, heard the last frogs, watched the stars fade. He was simply, fully present. Throughout the day, at natural pauses, after casting the nets, before mending them, he would stop, close his eyes, and take 3 conscious breaths, feeling his feet on the earth or the wood of the boat. Month by month, something settled in him. When a storm ruined a week's catch, he felt the surge of frustration, then the familiar anchor of his breath. He saw the problem not as a personal curse, but as a condition of the lake. He adjusted. When a trader tried to severely underpay him, Kwame felt the heat of anger, then the solid ground of his practice. He stated his price calmly, immovably, without hostility. His poise, born of daily cultivation, was more disarming than any threat. The trader, expecting volatility, found none, and relented. Kwame's daily bhavana had given him an inner citadel. The external uncertainties remained, but he was no longer a prisoner inside a shack of his own reactions. He had a strong house from which to observe the weather. This cultivation is your ultimate refuge. As the Buddha said on his deathbed, "Be a lamp unto yourselves. Be your own refuge." Your practice is how you kindle that lamp and build that refuge. Now, having built this inner stability and discernment, we circle back to integrate all we've learned through the lens of ultimate clarity. We revisit and deepen our first teaching, anatta, non-self, but now with the richness of all the others supporting it. This is the full circle understanding, seeing through the personal to the universal causal flow. When you have practiced seeing yourself as the sky, anatta, cultivated loving kindness, metta, anchored with the breath, anapanasati, reflected wisely, yaniso manasikara, embraced noble silence and boundaries, practiced equanimity, upekkha, and sympathetic joy, mudita, anchored in mindfulness, satipatthana, chosen your efforts wisely, samavayama, and built your inner citadel, bhavana. The difficult person is no longer a monstrous other. They are a profound teaching in the nature of suffering. You see them as a perfect, if painful, illustration of paticca samuppada, dependent origination. Their behavior is not a solid thing, but a verb, a happening born of countless causes. You see the fear behind their aggression, the insecurity behind their control, the unhealed wound behind their criticism. You understand it is not, and never was, about the small character you play in the story of your own life. It is about the epic story of cause and effect unfolding within them. From this place, your response is transformed. It is not personal defense. It is not cold withdrawal. It is the compassionate, wise, and boundaried action of one human being who understands suffering, meeting another human being who is currently embodied in it. You can say no with kindness. You can walk away with peace. You can hold a limit with love. Because you see clearly. You are free. A hospice nurse in San Francisco, Eleanor, embodied this integration. She cared for patients in their most vulnerable, often irritable, sometimes verbally abusive states. One patient, Mr. Henderson, was particularly caustic, insulting her care, his family, his own failing body. One afternoon, as she was adjusting his pillows, he snarled, "You're just like all the others, incompetent and waiting for me to die." The old Eleanor might have stiffened with hurt or defended her dedication. But the Eleanor who had cultivated these teachings simply paused. She took a silent, grounding breath, anapanasati. She felt the unpleasant sensation in her chest and noted it, satipathana. She saw his words as a storm from his personal climate of terror and loss, anatta, patika samappada. From the citadel of her daily metta and breath practice, bhavana, she responded not to the insult, but to the man in the bed. She met his eyes, her gaze soft and steady. She placed a gentle hand on his wrist, a touch of human connection. "It must be so frightening," she said quietly. "To feel so out of control." She didn't argue, defend, or flee. She named the weather beneath the thunder. Mr. Henderson's eyes filled with tears. The harsh mask crumbled. He turned his head away, but he left his wrist under her hand. He never apologized, but he never attacked her again. In her final, integrated response, Eleanor had used every teaching. She protected her peace, offered compassion, and honored the profound, terrifying humanity of his journey. She was the sky, the lighthouse, the deep lake, and the steady hand, all at once. We have journeyed through 12 doorways, 12 ways of seeing and being. We have gathered tools. The sky of non-self, the garden of loving kindness, the bridge of the breath, the lamp of wise reflection, the silent harbor, the gentle no, the lighthouse of equanimity, the joy for another's path, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the discernment of right effort, and the inner citadel of daily practice. Now, we arrive at the heart of the matter, how to weave these threads into the single, flowing tapestry of your daily life. This is not about performing 12 separate practices, but about allowing one integrated understanding to inform your every encounter. Think of a master weaver at her loom. She does not think separately of the warp and the weft while her hands are moving. She holds the vision of the complete pattern, and her hands, trained through countless repetitions, know how to integrate each thread seamlessly. Your life is the loom. The teachings are the colored threads. Your awareness is the weaver's hand. Let us walk through an ordinary, challenging day, seen through this woven understanding. The morning. You wake with a sense of dread about a difficult work meeting. The old pattern would be to carry that anxiety like a stone in your stomach, rehearsing arguments, bracing for conflict. But you have built your inner citadel, bhavana. You sit for 10 minutes, not to escape the feeling, but to anchor within it. You feel the anxiety as a clenching in your gut, satipathana, body. You note it as an unpleasant sensation, satipathana, feeling. You watch the worried mind, satipathana, mind and mental objects. You offer yourself metta, may I be peaceful. May I meet this with wisdom. You take several conscious breaths, anapanasati, lengthening the exhale to calm your nervous system. You are not trying to eliminate the anxiety, but you are no longer drowning in it. You are the sky holding the cloud. The commute. A driver cuts you off aggressively. The flash of anger is instant. But in the space between the trigger and the curse, you remember the breath. One conscious inhale and exhale. You see the other driver not as a personal enemy, but as a person acting from their own stress, hurry, or inner turmoil, anatta, paticca samuppada. You wish them, silently, to be safe, metta. The anger, unmet by your own story of persecution, dissipates. You choose peace over being right, samavayama. You continue your drive, your inner environment preserved. The difficult meeting. The colleague known for subtle sabotage makes a comment that undermines your proposal. You feel the heat rise. You drop into your body, jaw tight, chest hot. You note, unpleasant. You see the mind wanting to defend. You pause. You take one sip of water, a disguised conscious breath. From the space this creates, you see their behavior as a reflection of their own insecurity, a bid for control in their own inner world, yaniso manasikara, paticca samuppada. You respond not to the barb, but to the content of the proposal, your voice calm, your facts clear, noble silence in action, not engaging the bait. You hold your professional boundary with firm politeness, samakamanta, right action. The meeting moves on. You remain the mountain, the wind passed. The afternoon email. A demanding, emotionally charged message lands from a family member. The old you would feel obligated, guilty, and resentful. The new you applies wise reflection, yaniso manasikara. What is actually happening? A request wrapped in emotional pressure. What is my genuine responsibility? To respond with kindness, not to solve their emotional state. What is theirs? To manage their own feelings. You craft a reply that is kind, acknowledges their stress, but is clear about your limits. I hear this is really hard for you. I'm not able to take that on, but I'm sending love. The gentle no, upeka. You hit send and let go of the outcome, knowing you acted with integrity and self-respect. The evening. You're tired. A friend shares exciting news about an opportunity that, in a lesser moment, might trigger your own comparison or envy. But you have practiced mudita. You connect to their joy. You feel it resonate in your own heart. You celebrate with them genuinely. Their success does not dim your light, it adds to the general brightness. Your connection deepens because it is free from the shadow of competition. Late night thoughts. As you lie in bed, the mind replays the day's interactions. The old hooks try to catch you, should I have said? What did they mean by? But you have your anchors. You feel the weight of your body on the mattress, the rhythm of your breath. You are here, now. The stories are just weather in the mind sky, anatta. You offer a final round of metta to yourself and to all involved. You drift towards sleep, not in a battlefield of thought, but in the quiet field of your own cultivated awareness. This is the tapestry. It is not about being perfect. You will forget. You will react. The thread will snag. The weaver's hand will falter. That is part of the pattern too, the humble, human imperfections that give the cloth its texture. The practice is to notice the snag, to breathe, and to gently guide the thread back into the weave without tearing the whole cloth apart in frustration. Let me share a story that embodies this integrated living. It's about a woman named Chiara, who ran a small bakery in a village in the Italian Alps. Her bakery was a community hub. One regular customer, Signora Rossi, was a widow of exacting standards. She would critique the crust of the bread, the sweetness of the pastries, the temperature of the coffee. Her comments were delivered not as feedback, but as pronouncements of failure. She could sour the mood of the whole cafe. Chiara, a naturally warm person, found her spirits sinking every time Signora Rossi entered. She tried extra sweetness, which was met with suspicion. She tried avoidance, which felt unkind. She felt personally attacked, as if her nana's recipes were being insulted. Then, after a particularly harsh comment about her amaretti cookies, Chiara had a moment of clarity. She was in her kitchen, taking a batch of bread from the oven. The process demanded her full attention, the sound of the crust cracking, the feel of the loaf's weight, the scent filling the air. It was a moment of pure bhavana, of cultivated presence. In that stillness, she saw Signora Rossi differently. Not as a critic of Chiara, but as a lonely woman whose life had once had a clear, structured purpose, caring for a husband, a home, a family. Now, that structure was gone. The bakery, with its predictable rhythms and standards of rightness, was perhaps the only place left where she felt her opinion held weight, where she could exert a sense of control. Her criticisms were not about the bread, they were the last, grasping gestures of a woman trying to hold on to a world that had slipped away. It was a storm of loss and irrelevance, patika samuppada. The next day, when Signora Rossi came in, Chiara greeted her not with defensive cheer, but with simple, calm presence. When the woman pointed at a cornetto and said, "This looks overworked," Chiara didn't explain or defend. She nodded thoughtfully, noble silence, Anata. "You have a good eye, Signora," she said. The dough was a bit stubborn this morning. She acknowledged the comment without accepting it as a truth about her worth. Then, she did something new. "I'm trying a new recipe for pinza this week, the kind they make in Veneto. I'd value your opinion, since you know traditional flavors." She invited the critic into the process, on Chiara's terms. She set a boundary: the criticism would be about the food, not her person, while offering a thread of connection. Signora Rossi was momentarily speechless. Then she gave a curt nod. Later that week, she tasted the pinza and offered a detailed, surprisingly knowledgeable critique that was actually helpful. The dynamic shifted from persecution to a prickly, but respectful, alliance. Chiara had woven together seeing the cause, Yaniso Manasikara, not taking it personally, Anata, holding a boundary with kindness, Samakamanta, and offering a gesture of inclusion, metta. She changed the entire weather of their interactions by changing her own inner climate. This is the promise of the integrated practice. You stop trying to control the other person, the weather. You focus on mastering your own inner climate. Becoming a skillful, compassionate weaver of your own responses. The external situation may or may not change, but your experience of it transforms completely. You move from being a victim of circumstances to being a conscious participant in the unfolding of your life. In the next part, we will explore how this woven understanding allows you to become a source of quiet peace for others, not by fixing them, but by the very quality of your presence. When you begin to live from this woven understanding, when the mountain's stillness, the garden's warmth, and the breath's anchor become your native landscape, a remarkable thing begins to happen. You stop trying to create peace in your external environment through force or negotiation. Instead, you become a zone of peace, and that peace begins to exert a gravitational pull on the space around you. This is not about being a passive doormat. It is about becoming a calm, clear center that, by its very nature, alters the emotional physics of any room you enter. This is the ripple effect of embodied peace, and it is our 13th understanding, the fruit of all the practices. Think of a large bell, cast from fine metal, perfectly tuned. If you strike it with a harsh, clumsy hammer, it produces a discordant, jarring clang. The bell absorbs the shock and vibrates with chaotic noise. But if you tap it gently with the proper striker, it sings. A clear, pure, resonant tone emanates from it, filling the space with harmony. The bell does not choose how it is struck. But its inherent structure determines the quality of the sound it produces. You are the bell. The words and actions of others are the strikes. Your daily cultivation, your bhavana, your metta, your mindfulness, is what tunes your structure. When you are well tuned, even a harsh strike will not produce a lasting cacophony within you. It may create a momentary disturbance on the surface, but the fundamental note of your being remains clear. And more than that, your clear note can, over time, influence the quality of the strikes themselves. People unconsciously begin to match the tone you set. A school principal in Stockholm, Lars, discovered this. His school had a toxic culture in the teacher's lounge. A space of gossip, complaining, and competitive negativity. Walking in felt like stepping into a cloud of passive aggression. Lars, new to the role, knew he couldn't mandate positivity. Instead, he decided to simply be the change in the room, using the principles he practiced. He entered the lounge not with a lecture, but with his cultivated presence. When a complaining conversation started, he wouldn't join in, but he wouldn't chastise it either. He might listen, then gently pivot with a question rooted in curiosity or solutions. That sounds frustrating. What do you wish could be different about that situation? Or, I hear you. I also saw how engaged Anna's class was this morning during the science experiment. He responded to gossip with a neutral, kind deflection. I'm not sure I know the full story there. How is your project going? He was applying noble silence to the negativity, not feeding it. Metta, responding with underlying goodwill, Yaniso Manasikara, addressing the root need behind the complaint, and Upeka, not getting hooked into the drama. Most of all, he was a living example of anatta. He didn't take the lounge's mood personally, as a referendum on his leadership. He saw it as the existing weather. At first, people were confused. Some doubled down on negativity, testing him. He held his calm, consistent note. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the atmosphere began to shift. Others, weary of the negativity themselves, found courage in his example. They began to share small joys, to ask for help rather than just criticize. The lounge didn't become a paradise overnight, but the density of the toxic cloud lifted. Lars had changed the environment not by fighting the fog, but by being a steady, warm sun. His embodied peace created a new possibility in the space. This ripple effect extends to the most intimate relationships. Consider a couple, Maya and Ben, in Mexico City. Their pattern was classic. Ben would withdraw under stress, becoming silent and distant. Maya would interpret his silence as rejection, feel anxiety, and pursue him with questions and demands for connection, which would make Ben withdraw further. A vicious cycle. Maya began to practice. When Ben shut down, her old panic would arise. Instead of acting on it, she would use her breath, anapanasati. She would feel the anxiety in her body, satipatthana, see it as a storm in her own sky, anatta. She would offer herself metta, may I be peaceful with this uncertainty. She practiced Upeka, loving Ben while releasing her need to control his emotional process. She gave him space, not as a punishment, but as a respectful boundary for her own peace. The first time she did this, it was agonizing. But she busied herself with a book, a walk, her own breath. Ben, expecting the usual pursuit, was met with silence, but it wasn't a cold, angry silence. It was a calm, spacious one. The lack of pressure was disarming. His own defensive walls, built to withstand an onslaught, suddenly had nothing to push against. Sooner than usual, he emerged from his shell. "You're quiet," he said. Maya smiled softly. "Just giving us both some space to breathe." That simple statement, from her cultivated center, broke the pattern. Over time, Ben began to trust that his silence wouldn't trigger an earthquake, and he started to come out of it sooner. Maya's peace had created a container large enough for both their vulnerabilities. The ripple of her practice transformed their dance. This is the ultimate answer to, how do I handle toxic people? You stop handling them as external problems to be solved or defeated. You start being a presence that is immune to toxicity and, by its nature, disarms it. Your calm becomes a silent invitation to a different way of being. But what about when the toxicity is extreme? When boundaries are not enough, and distance is necessary for survival? Here, the ripple effect works in a different, but equally compassionate, way. Sometimes, the most peaceful, loving action you can take is to remove yourself from the field of someone's dysfunction. This is not failure. It is the application of Upeka and Sammakamanta at their most profound level. It is the understanding that your continued presence in the chaos may be enabling their patterns and guaranteeing your own suffering. Your absence can be the necessary shock to their system, the silent teacher that says, this behavior has a cost. I will not pay it anymore. Your peace, protected through wise distance, becomes a beacon not for them to follow you, but for you to remember who you are. And in that remembering, you hold a space of possibility, even if from afar, for them to one day seek their own peace. The ripple is one of clarity, not proximity. Let us now turn to a practice that encapsulates this entire journey, a final integrating meditation. It is a weaving of all the threads into a single, powerful intention for living. Find a comfortable position. Let your body be at ease. Gently close your eyes. First, establish the mountain. Bring your awareness to the solidity of your body where it touches the floor or chair. Feel the unwavering support beneath you. You are rooted, grounded, unshakable. This is your bhavana, your inner citadel. Pause. Now, become the sky. Expand your awareness to the space around you, above you. Feel the boundless, open quality of your true nature. Thoughts, sensations, sounds, they are like clouds or birds passing through this vast sky. They are not you. You are the space that holds them. This is anatta. Pause. Tend the inner garden. Place a hand on your heart. Feel its rhythm. Silently offer. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. This is metta for yourself, the foundation. Pause. Anchor with the breath. Take 3 deep, conscious breaths. Inhale slowly, feeling expansion. Exhale even slower, releasing all tension. With each exhale, feel yourself settling deeper into the mountain, the sky, the garden. This is anapanasati, your bridge to the present. Pause. Shine the lamp of wisdom. Bring to mind a current challenge with a person or situation. Ask with gentle curiosity. What is actually happening here? What is my true responsibility? What is theirs? Do not seek immediate answers. Just hold the questions in the light of your awareness. This is Yoniso Manasikara. Pause. Hold the space with equanimity. Recognize your limits. Silently affirm. I am not responsible for another's journey, only for my own peace. I wish them well, from a place of wholeness. This is Upekkha. Pause. Feel the joy for all paths. Bring to mind someone whose choices confuse or worry you. Silently offer, may you learn what you need to learn. May your path unfold with wisdom. I honor your journey. This is mudita. Pause. Return to the 4 foundations. Scan your body, any tension. Just notice. Kayanupassana. Note the feeling tone. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Vedananyapasana. Observe the state of your mind, calm, restless, tired. Siddhanupassana. Watch any thoughts about this meditation itself, just see them as mental objects. Dhammanupassana. You are anchored in Satipatthana. Pause. Choose your effort. Set an intention. Today, I will choose peace over being right. I will conserve my energy for what truly nourishes me. This is Samavayama. Pause. Affirm your boundaries. Silently say, my peace is not negotiable. I will protect it with clear, kind limits. This is Samakamanta. Pause. Rest in noble silence. Let all words and intentions fall away. Simply be. Be the mountain, the sky, the calm deep lake. Your presence is enough. This is Arya Tanhiba. Long pause. Finally, let it ripple. From this deep center of integrated peace, imagine this quality of being radiating out from you, like the clear tone of the bell, like sunlight, like a gentle wave. Touching your immediate space, your relationships, your community, and extending out to all beings everywhere. May all beings dwell in the mountain of their own strength. May all beings know the sky-like nature of their mind. May all beings cultivate gardens of loving kindness. May all beings breathe in peace and breathe out release. May all beings see with wisdom and act with compassion. May all beings find sanctuary within. When you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Notice how you feel. Carry this woven presence with you. This meditation is a loom. You can return to it any time to reweave the threads when life feels frayed. It realigns you with your true nature, which is peace. In the next part, we will address the inevitable challenges and questions that arise on this path, the moments when you forget, when you react, when the world feels too loud. We will explore the compassion required for the practitioner, which is, perhaps, the final teaching. We have built the sanctuary, learned the weaves, and felt the potential ripples of peace. But the path is not paved with perfect moments. It is a dirt trail with stones, roots, and sudden rain. You will forget the sky and believe you are the storm. You will neglect the garden and find weeds of resentment sprouted overnight. You will speak when silence was wise, and grasp when letting go was needed. This is not failure. This is practice. The final, and perhaps most essential, teaching is the one you apply to yourself, the art of being a compassionate practitioner. The mind that judges itself for not being peaceful is at war with peace. The heart that condemns itself for a moment of anger has simply traded one form of violence for another. The path of peace requires making peace with your own imperfection. Imagine a master potter teaching an apprentice. The apprentice's first vase is lopsided, the walls uneven. If the master smashes it in disgust, the apprentice learns fear, not skill. But if the master points gently to the thick part of the wall, saying, "Here, the clay needed less pressure. Let's see why it gathered there," the apprentice learns. The lopsided vase is not a condemnation, it is information. It is part of the learning curve, essential to the eventual creation of something beautiful. Your reactive moments, your forgotten breaths, your snapped responses, these are your lopsided vases. They are not evidence that the teachings have failed or that you are unfit for peace. They are the most valuable feedback you can receive. They show you exactly where your triggers lie, where your old wounds are tender, where your practice needs to be applied with more tenderness or more firmness. The practice, therefore, includes a practice of retrospective mindfulness. Not to beat yourself up, but to learn with gentle curiosity. At the end of the day, you might reflect, when did I lose my peace today? What was the hook? And then, instead of a narrative of blame, I'm so weak, I always do that, you apply the teachings to yourself. Let's say you snapped at a coworker. In your reflection, you might see the trigger, their dismissive tone. The unseen cause, paticca samuppada, applied to you. It hooked an old story of not being listened to, perhaps from childhood. The missed step, you didn't feel the tightness in your chest, satipatthana, body, or note the rising anger as a mind state, satipatthana, mind. You didn't take the breath, anapanasati. The compassionate response, to yourself, ah. That old wound is still tender. The dismissive tone was their weather, but it rained on my sore spot. Next time, I'll try to feel the soreness first, breathe into it, and remember it's an old ache, not a present emergency. Then, offer yourself metta. May I be kind to myself in my learning. May I forgive my human reactions. This is how you close the loop. The practice is not a straight line upward, but an upward spiral. You revisit the same challenges, impatience, defensiveness, fear. But each time from a slightly higher vantage point, with a little more understanding, a little less self-condemnation. Consider Leo, a jazz musician in New Orleans. His art required deep listening and spontaneous harmony. But in his personal life, especially with his teenage son, Jamal, he was quick to criticize, to interrupt, to impose his correct way of playing a phrase or solving a problem. After every blow-up, he'd be filled with regret, seeing his own father's harshness reflected in his behavior. One night, after a particularly nasty argument about music school, Leo sat in his studio, his trumpet cold in his hands. He felt like a failure, not just as a father, but as a man seeking peace. He began to apply the teachings to the pattern, not just the single event. He saw the cause, paticca samuppada. His own fear for Jamal's future in an uncertain industry, mixed with the ghost of his father's voice telling him that discipline looked like criticism. He saw the missed mindfulness. In the moment, he was lost in a story of Jamal throwing his life away, not present with the actual boy in front of him. He had practiced no upekkha, no trust in Jamal's path. The next day, he didn't just apologize. He went to Jamal and said, I was wrong. I was playing a solo over your melody. I was scared, and I turned it into noise. Can you play me that phrase you like again? I want to just listen. It was a humble application of noble silence. He stopped his own dominating performance to create space. He applied Yoniso Manasikara to his own behavior. He offered metta to both himself and his son. It didn't fix everything. But it changed the score. Jamal, startled, played the phrase. Leo listened, truly listened. He then said, "I hear the complexity you're going for. It's ambitious. What if we tried it against this chord progression?" He became a collaborator, not a critic. Leo's compassionate self-reflection allowed him to break the inherited cycle. His stumble became the turning point. This self-compassion is the bedrock that makes all other practices sustainable. Without it, mindfulness becomes self-surveillance, metta becomes a forced exercise, and boundaries become walls of bitterness. With it, every failure is fertilizer for deeper growth. Now, let us address a quiet question that often arises in the heart of the practitioner: if I achieve this peace, will I become distant, detached, less passionate? This is a fear of the ego, which mistakes drama for aliveness. The peace we speak of is not the quiet of a stagnant pond. It is the powerful stillness of the ocean's depths. The surface may have waves and storms, but the profound quiet below is vibrant, teeming with life, and the source of almighty currents. A person living from this deep peace is not bland. They are intensely alive. Their emotions are felt fully but not clung to. Their passions are pursued with dedication but without desperate attachment to the outcome. Their love is fierce but free of clinging possession. They can laugh with utter abandon and cry with complete surrender, because they are not afraid of being swept away. They know they are the ocean, not the wave. Think of the most inspiring, calm person you've ever met. Their power did not come from volatility, but from a profound collectedness. That is the gift of this path. You become more yourself, not less. More responsive, more creative, more loving, more resilient, because you are no longer spending 90% of your energy managing the reactive storms of a fragile, constructed self. This journey, then, is a homecoming. It is not about acquiring something new, but about remembering and cultivating what has always been there. Your inherent capacity for peace, clarity, and compassionate connection. The teachings are not foreign rules, they are descriptions of your own true nature and instructions for clearing away the clutter that obscures it. In the next part, we will gather all of this into a final, sustained contemplation, a long, guided integration that serves as a portable sanctuary you can carry within you, always. Now, let us integrate everything. Let us build, within the landscape of your own awareness, a sanctuary so complete, so resonant, that you can return to its peace at any moment, under any circumstance. This is not a visualization of a place outside yourself. It is a direct knowing of the landscape you already are. We will walk through it together, feature by feature, weaving every teaching into a living geography of peace. Find a comfortable position. Allow your eyes to close. Let your breath find its own natural rhythm. Begin with the foundation, the mountain. Bring your awareness to the points of contact between your body and what supports it. Feel the unshakable, patient solidity beneath you. Now, imagine that solidity rising up through you. Your spine becomes the central peak of an ancient, gentle mountain. Your hips and legs are its broad, sloping base, rooted deep into the heart of the earth. Your shoulders are its sturdy ridges. You are not small. You are vast, grounded, immovable. This is bhavana, your cultivated stability. Seasons of emotion may change on your slopes, but your core is stillness. Rest here as the mountain. Pause for 20 seconds. Expand to the sky. Now, from this mountain peak of your awareness, look out. Sense the boundless space around and above you. This is the nature of your mind, limitless, clear, open. Thoughts are like birds that fly through this sky. Feelings are like clouds that form and dissolve. Sounds are like distant wind. They are not the sky. You are the sky. The spacious, aware presence that holds all things without being stained by them. This is anatta, non-self. You are not the content of experience, you are the aware space for it. Dwell as the sky. Pause for 20 seconds. Tend the inner garden. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest, the heart of the mountain, the clear space of the sky. This is the fertile soil of your heart. Place a gentle hand there if you wish. Feel the warmth, the rhythm. Into this soil, plant the seeds of kindness. Silently, softly offer. May I be safe from all harm. May I be peaceful and deeply at ease. May I be healthy and strong in body and spirit. May I live with a heart of joy. Water these seeds with your attention. Let the warmth of your hand be the sun. This is metta for yourself, the essential cultivation. Pause for 30 seconds. Find the ever-flowing stream, the breath. Now, notice the stream that always flows through this landscape. Your breath. Feel the cool air as it enters, the warm air as it leaves. Do not force it. Simply observe this constant, gentle flow. It is the stream that nourishes the mountain's roots, that refreshes the garden, that moves through the sky. Follow one complete breath in, and one complete breath out. This stream is always here, your anapanasati, your anchor to the present, your bridge between body and mind. Pause for 30 seconds. Erect the lighthouse of wise seeing. On a stable promontory of your mountain, imagine a lighthouse. Its lamp is the light of clear understanding, Yaniso Manasikara. When fog rolls in, confusion, reactivity, this lamp automatically shines, asking the clarifying questions. What is truly happening? What is mine to hold? What is not? Feel the steady, searching beam of this light, cutting through stories and fear, illuminating reality as it is. It is a part of your inner landscape, always available. Pause for 20 seconds. Define the shores with gentle clarity. Around your island mountain, feel the shores. These are your boundaries, Samakamanta, right action. They are not jagged cliffs that repel, but clean, sandy shores that clearly define where the ocean of others' needs ends and your own peace begins. The water can come and go, but the shore knows its line. Feel the firm, kind certainty of this shoreline. It allows connection but prevents erosion. Pause for 20 seconds. Become the deep lake of equanimity. In a high valley on your mountain, see a deep, still lake. Its surface is crystal clear, reflecting the sky perfectly. This is upeka, equanimity. When the storms of others' dramas rage, the lake may ripple on the surface, but its depths remain undisturbed, calm, and cool. It does not resist the wind, it absorbs the movement without losing its essential nature. You can be this lake, feeling, yet undisturbed at your core. Pause for 20 seconds. Let the lotus of joy bloom. On the surface of that deep lake, see a lotus flower. Its roots are in the mud of life's complexity, but its blossom is open, clean, facing the sun. This is mudita, sympathetic joy. It is your capacity to appreciate the bloom of others, even if their stem grew through different mud. Feel the gentle happiness of this flower's simple existence, a joy that asks for nothing, that simply celebrates being. Pause for 20 seconds. Activate the 4 watchtowers of mindfulness. Now, at the 4 cardinal directions of your mountain, establish watchtowers of awareness. In the east, the Tower of Body. From here, you can notice any tension, any sensation, instantly. A clenched jaw, a tight belly, just a signal flag raised. In the south, the Tower of Feeling. It notes the basic tone, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. In the west, the Tower of Mind. It observes the weather of the mind itself. Mind is anxious, mind is calm. In the north, the Tower of Mental Objects. It sees thoughts and patterns as they arise. Ah, the planning thought, there is the old worry story. These towers are your Satipathana. They provide a complete, real-time map of your inner experience, so you are never lost. Pause for 30 seconds. Choose the bridge of right effort. See a bridge that leads from the reactive outskirts of your landscape to the peaceful inner sanctuary. This is Samavayama. You stand at its head. You can choose, moment by moment, to walk this bridge toward peace, or to stay in the brambles of argument. The bridge is always there. Feel the power of that choice, to step onto the path of wise effort, conserving your energy for what truly matters. Pause for 20 seconds. Enter the grove of noble silence. At the very heart of your mountain, find a silent grove of ancient trees. The air is still here. This is Arya Tunhiba, noble silence. It is not an empty silence, but a full, potent quiet. In this grove, nothing needs to be said. Your presence is complete. This is the source. Rest here. Breathe here. This is your core. Long pause for 45 seconds. Feel the interconnection of all things. From this deep, silent center, feel the truth of Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination. Sense how the mountain is fed by rain from the sky. How the garden is watered by the stream. How the lighthouse's light reflects in the lake. How the lotus depends on the mud. Everything in this inner landscape is connected, cause and effect in a beautiful, intricate web. You are this whole, interdependent system. And so is everyone else, a walking, breathing landscape of their own causes and conditions. Feel the compassion this understanding brings. Pause for 30 seconds. Let the sanctuary live in you. Now, Gently release the specific images, but hold the felt sense of this integrated landscape. The solidity, the spaciousness, the warmth, the flow, the clarity, the calm depth, the joyful bloom, the alert awareness, the wise choice, the profound silence, and the interconnected whole. Know that this is not a fantasy. This is the architecture of your own awakened nature. You carry this complete sanctuary within you at all times. The mountain is your posture. The sky is your mind. The garden is your heart. The breath is your constant stream. The lighthouse, shores, lake, lotus, watchtowers, bridge, and grove, these are the innate capacities of your awareness, now recognized and cultivated. Whenever you feel unsettled, you can return. In a breath, you can touch the mountain. In a glance inward, you can find the sky. In a hand on your heart, you can tend the garden. Take 3 more breaths here, in the wholeness of your sanctuary. Breathing in, I am the mountain, solid and still. Breathing out, I am the sky, vast and clear. Breathing in, I am the garden, warm and kind. Breathing out, I am the stream, flowing free. When you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to the outer room. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel the air on your skin. Open your eyes, carrying this inner geography with you. You are now a keeper of a profound peace. You are not just visiting a temple, you have become one. We have built the inner sanctuary, a complete landscape of peace. But the world moves. It makes demands, creates friction, and produces noise. How does this sanctuary interact with constant motion? The answer lies in the nature of the sanctuary itself. It is not a hiding place from motion, but a transformation of your relationship to it. When you are centered in your mountain sky nature, motion becomes just that, motion. It is not a threat, but a dance. This is the cultivation of the unshakable core. Consider a child spinning top. When it spins with perfect balance and speed, its central axis appears perfectly still, even as the outer blur is a whirl of color and motion. The top is engaged with gravity and momentum, yet its center is calm. Your life is the outer blur, the responsibilities, conversations, tasks, and interactions. Your cultivated awareness, your sanctuary, is that still central axis. The goal is not to stop the spin of life, but to find such perfect balance within it that your core remains unmoved, providing stability and clarity to all the motion. This balance is maintained by a principle we can call dynamic equilibrium. It is the continuous, gentle adjustment of returning to center. You will lean into a difficult conversation, pour energy into a project, engage fully with joy or sorrow. But like a tree bending in a strong wind, your roots remain in your mountain, your branches remember the sky. After the engagement, you consciously return. A breath. A moment of feeling your feet on the ground. A silent meta phrase. This is the dynamic part, the living, responsive application of the teachings in flux. A heart surgeon in Seoul, Dr. Min Jun, exemplified this. In the operating room, his world was a hurricane of high-stakes motion. Beeping monitors, urgent requests, the delicate, life-dependent work of his hands. There was no room for reactive emotion, yet total presence was required. His practice was the breath, not in a quiet room, but as the axis of the storm. Before making the first incision, he would pause for one conscious, centering breath, a tactile return to his mountain. During long, tense hours, he would use the natural pauses, waiting for a test result, between sutures. To take 3 conscious breaths, re-establishing the still axis amidst the spin. This wasn't zoning out, it was zoning into the deepest source of his steadiness. His colleagues marveled at his preternatural calm under pressure. It was not an absence of feeling, but the presence of a rooted core that allowed all his skill and focus to operate without the interference of personal panic. The motion of the surgery happened around his stillness. In your daily life, dynamic equilibrium might look like this. After a draining video call, you close your laptop, place your hands flat on the desk, and take 5 deep breaths before moving to the next task. In the middle of a chaotic family morning, you pause at the sink while washing a dish, feeling the water on your hands, and for 10 seconds, you are just that sensation, a momentary return to the stream of breath and sensation. After receiving upsetting news, you consciously feel the shock in your body, label it impact, and then guide your attention to the steady rhythm of your breathing, anchoring back to your axis before deciding any action. This is peace in action. It is not fragile, requiring perfect quiet to survive. It is resilient, designed to exist precisely within the conditions of life. Now, let us add another thread to our tapestry, the understanding of energy stewardship. Your peace is not only a mental state but an energetic reality. Difficult people are often, whether consciously or not, energy drainers. They operate by pulling those around them into their emotional vortex, feeding on reaction, drama, or guilt. Your sanctuary must include an energetic boundary, a conscious management of what you allow to resonate within your field. Think of yourself as a tuning fork, calibrated to a specific note of peace. When a discordant vibration, anger, manipulation, panic, comes near, you have a choice. You can let your fork be struck and begin to vibrate with that dissonant frequency, or you can use your own practice to keep ringing your true note. The more consistently you ring your note, through metta, breath, and mindfulness, the harder it is for external dissonance to disrupt you. You become psychologically non-porous to certain toxic frequencies, not by pushing them away aggressively, but by the fullness and consistency of your own vibration. A community mediator in Cape Town, Sibinjile, worked with feuding neighbors. The meetings were often charged with historical resentment and loud emotion. Sibinjile knew she could not absorb the anger of both sides and remain effective. Before each session, she would sit in her car and perform a brief ritual. 3 breaths to become the mountain, a round of metta for herself and all who would be present, and a specific intention: I am a vessel for resolution, not a dumpster for rage. I let discord pass through my awareness without sticking. She visualized herself as clear, running water. During the meetings, when voices rose, she would feel the pressure in the room, but she would sense it as energy moving past her clear stream, not into it. She could then reflect back what she heard with clarity, without the emotional coloration. People often left feeling heard by her in a way they weren't by their neighbors, because she reflected them without absorbing their charge. She stewarded her energy meticulously, and in doing so, she held a clean space where old energy could finally dissipate. Your unshakable core, maintained through dynamic equilibrium and conscious energy stewardship, becomes your greatest gift to a moving world. You become a stabilizing influence simply by being present. You don't have to say a word. From the unshakable core, communication flows not as a reaction, but as a creation. When you speak from the mountain, your words carry the weight of stillness. When you listen from the sky, you hear not just the words, but the weather from which they came. This is the transformation of dialogue, from a battlefield of egos to a meeting of understandings. Our focus now is right speech and deep listening, the natural expressions of a centered being. Right speech, or samavaka, is often distilled to be truthful, be kind, be necessary. But from the sanctuary within, these are not rules to follow, they are descriptions of what naturally emerges. When you are not defending a fragile self, anatta, truth can be spoken without brutality. When your inner garden is tended, metta, kindness is the soil from which words grow. When you are anchored by the breath, anapanasati, and clarified by wise reflection, yoniso manasikara, you naturally discern what is necessary to say and what is better held in noble silence, arya tunhiba. Imagine a conversation as a shared boat on a river. The reactive, uncentered person stands up in panic at every rock or rapid, rocking the boat, shouting at the river, blaming their fellow passenger. The centered person sits steadily, feels the current, reads the water, and uses the oar with precise, calm strokes. They don't fight the river, they navigate it. Their steady presence alone calms the other passenger. A project manager in Berlin, Klaus, faced a high-pressure product launch where a key designer, Lena, missed a crucial deadline. The old Klaus would have summoned her for a blame-filled confrontation, starting with, "Why did you fail?" A question that invites defensiveness and shame. The centered Klaus prepared differently. First, he anchored himself. He took a few minutes to breathe and connect to his mountain sky nature. He applied wise reflection. What is happening? A deadline was missed. What is needed? To understand the cause and find a solution, not to assign blame. He set an intention for metta. May this conversation be helpful for both of us. When Lena arrived, anxious and defensive, he did not mirror her energy. He sat in his calm. He began not with the deadline, but with a genuine question. This project is complex. Tell me, what's been the biggest hurdle on your end? He listened, deep listening. He heard not just about software glitches, but about her feeling isolated from the engineering team. His calm presence created a container where she could reveal the real problem, not just the symptom. From that shared understanding, they co-created a solution. The conversation ended with Lena feeling supported and accountable, not shamed. Klaus's speech was truthful, the deadline was missed, kind, focused on solving, not shaming, and necessary. It addressed the root cause. It was effective because it came from a place prior to conflict. Deep listening is the silent partner to right speech. It is not waiting for your turn to talk. It is the practice of full, receptive presence. You listen with your whole sanctuary. You feel the speaker's emotional energy in your own body awareness, satipatthana. You note it as their weather, anatta. You hold it in the space of your sky without judgment, and you bathe the process in silent metta. You listen for the need beneath the complaint, the fear beneath the anger, the longing beneath the criticism. A chaplain in a Toronto hospital, Sister Marguerite, was a master of this. She would sit with grieving families, angry patients, and terrified individuals. She often said very little. She would sit, her posture an embodiment of the mountain, her eyes soft like the sky. She would listen to screams, to curses, to rambling stories, to silence. People said they felt emptied out or seen after sitting with her. She was practicing a form of receiving meditation. She did not absorb their pain as her own energy stewardship, but she allowed it to pass through the spacious field of her compassionate awareness. By not reacting, not fixing, not even soothing with platitudes, she gave their suffering the dignity of simply being witnessed. Her deep listening was an act of profound healing. It said, "Your experience, however stormy, is valid and can be held in this world. You can practice this in daily life. The next time someone speaks to you from a place of upset, try this. First, pause your inner narrative. Let go of preparing your response. Second, feel your body. Ground yourself in your mountain. Take one soft breath. Third, listen with your whole being. Hear the words, but also sense the emotion behind them. See the person as a landscape experiencing weather. And fourth, reflect back the essence. Before giving your view, say, "What I hear you saying is," or, "It sounds like this is really important because," this simple act of accurate reflection is one of the most validating things you can offer. It proves you are in the boat with them, reading the same river. This kind of communication becomes a sacred exchange. It builds bridges where walls once stood. And it all begins with the silence and stability you cultivate within yourself first. Now, let us address a shadow that can arise even in well-intentioned practice: spiritual bypassing. This is the subtle trap of using the language of peace and detachment to avoid legitimate conflict, suppress valid anger, or abdicate healthy responsibility. It is saying, "I practice non-attachment," to avoid the vulnerability of deep love. It is using, "It's all impermanent," to dismiss someone's very real pain. It is hiding behind, "I don't engage in negativity," when a clear, strong "no" is the most truthful and compassionate response. The centered communication we are describing is the antidote to spiritual bypassing. It is more engaged, not less. It involves the courage to be truthful, the strength to set boundaries, the vulnerability to feel hurt, and the wisdom to express it all from your core, not your reactivity. The mountain feels the storm, it does not pretend the storm isn't happening. It just doesn't collapse. True peace is not a state of bland neutrality. It is a state of profound alignment from which all human emotions can be experienced fully, expressed cleanly, and released freely. From your sanctuary, you can say, I am angry about this, and I need to talk about it, without being possessed by the anger. You can say, this hurt me, without becoming the victim. You can fight for a cause with fierce determination without your identity depending on the outcome. Your core peace allows you to engage with the full spectrum of life with clarity and grace, without losing yourself in any of it. Our world is now woven with digital threads, screens that bring distant storms into our hands, streams of opinion that feel like constant weather, and the pressure to be perpetually connected. How does the sanctuary we've built interact with this virtual landscape? Can the mountain stand firm when the ground itself seems to be a shifting screen of light? This is the modern frontier of peace, maintaining your inner citadel in the age of the endless feed. The digital realm operates on principles often opposed to mindfulness. It prizes speed over depth, reaction over reflection, and fragmentation over wholeness. Notifications are designed to trigger your nervous system's, what is it, response. Algorithms feed on engagement, often expertly fueling outrage, comparison, or fear, the very weeds we've been tending our gardens against. To log on without awareness is to walk into a psychic hurricane without an anchor. Therefore, we must bring conscious intention to our digital life. This is not about rejecting technology, but about relating to it with the same wisdom we apply to difficult people. Your phone, your social media feed, these are entities with their own behavior, driven by corporate incentives. You can interact with them from your centered self. First, establish a digital shoreline. Just as you have physical and energetic boundaries with people, you need them with technology. This is Samakhamanta applied to your devices. It might look like no devices in the bedroom, protecting the sanctuary of sleep and first waking thoughts. Turning off all non-essential notifications. Let information be a river you choose to dip into, not a tidal wave that constantly crashes over you. Designated, screen-free hours or zones in your home, creating pockets of pure, undigitized human space. These are not deprivations. They are acts of stewardship for your most precious resource, your attention. Your attention is the cursor of your consciousness. Where you place it, you place your life. Second, practice digital satipatthana. When you scroll, be aware. Body, how does scrolling feel in your body? A slight hunch in the shoulders. A shallow breath. A tense jaw. Feeling. What is the feeling tone of this activity? Is it pleasant, connecting with a friend, unpleasant, spiraling into comparison, or neutral? Mind, what state arises? A scattered mind. An anxious mind. A craving mind. Mental objects, notice the hooks. This person's vacation looks perfect. This opinion makes me furious. See these thoughts as algorithmically served mental objects, not absolute truths. They are digital weather. A young writer in Lisbon, Ines, found herself paralyzed by the compare and despair cycle on literary social media. Every scroll through posts about book deals and glowing reviews felt like a needle to her own creative confidence. She began applying digital mindfulness. She set a timer for 10 minutes of social media use. As she scrolled, she noted, body, tight stomach. Feeling, unpleasant. Mind, inferior. Thought, I'll never measure up. Just this act of noting created a space. She saw the platform for what it was, a highlight reel designed to create craving. She began to use it intentionally, to message a writer friend with genuine encouragement, to look up a specific piece of information, and then log off. She reclaimed her attention. Her creative energy, once siphoned into the digital vortex, returned to her own work. Third, engage in conscious contribution. The digital world is also a field for metta and mudita. Before posting or commenting, pause for one breath. Ask from your centered heart, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? Can you use your digital voice to extend goodwill? A genuine compliment on a post, a thoughtful comment that adds to understanding, a private message of support, these are ripples of your sanctuary extending into the virtual world. They counteract the prevailing winds of cynicism and division. Finally, remember the human mountain behind the digital avatar. It is easy to dehumanize someone behind a profile picture, to reduce them to a disagreeable opinion or a caustic comment. This is where anatta and paticca samuppada are crucial. That angry troll. They are a constellation of causes and conditions, loneliness, pain, a lifetime of feeling unheard, expressing itself through the distorting lens of anonymity. This doesn't mean you engage with the abuse. It means you don't let their distorted projection define your reality or poison your heart. You can block, mute, or disengage with the same clear, compassionate firmness you'd use with a difficult person in physical space. You protect your peace without needing to conquer their chaos. The challenge of constant connectivity is, at its core, the challenge of remembering who you are. You are not a profile to be curated. You are not a set of opinions to be defended. You are not a metric of likes or shares. You are the mountain. You are the sky. The digital world is a fascinating, useful, but ultimately insubstantial weather pattern passing through your awareness. You can appreciate its sunsets, take shelter from its storms, and use its tools, all while never forgetting the solid, silent ground of your own being beneath your feet. Now, let us turn from the external world back to the deepest internal one, the realm of rest and dreams. For the sanctuary must be a place of true restoration. The mountain does not fight to stand, it rests upon the earth. The sky does not strain to be vast, it simply is. In the same way, a crucial aspect of your inner sanctuary is its capacity for deep, renewing rest. Sleep is not an interruption of your practice, it is one of its most sacred expressions. It is the daily return to the formless source, the dissolution of the constructed self, a silent baptism in the waters of pure being. How you end your day determines the quality of your sanctuary's restoration. If you carry the unresolved debris of the day, the unresolved argument, the anxious planning, the sting of criticism, into sleep, it is like dragging mud and fallen branches into your clean, quiet temple. The mind continues to churn in the dark, attempting to solve problems with a brain that is offline for logic but fully online for emotion. This leads to restless sleep, waking exhaustion, and beginning the new day from a place of deficit, not renewal. Therefore, we cultivate a ritual of release. This is the practice of gently sweeping the temple clean each night. It is an active, loving application of upekkha, letting go, samavayama, right effort in releasing, and metta, kindness toward the tired self. Begin by creating a buffer zone, 20 to 30 minutes of low light and low stimulation before bed. This is your transition from the world of doing to the realm of being. Step 1. The review with non-judgment. Sit comfortably or lie in bed. Take 5 deep, slow breaths, feeling the weight of your body surrender to support. Now, review the day backward, like watching a film in reverse. See the evening, the afternoon, the morning. As scenes or interactions arise, simply acknowledge them. There was the meeting. There was the conversation with my child. There was the moment of irritation in traffic. Do not analyze, judge, or rehearse. Just note the events as passing weather in the sky of your day. This is satipatthana for the day's narrative. Step 2. The gratitude anchor. Identify 3 small, specific things from the day for which you feel a flicker of gratitude. The warmth of the sun through a window. The taste of a meal. A moment of cooperation. A task completed. Feel the physical sensation of gratitude. A slight softening in the chest, a warmth. This plants a seed of positivity in the subconscious mind, orienting it toward wholeness, not lack. Step 3. The release of carried weight. Now, bring to mind any specific burden you are still carrying, a worry, a regret, a resentment. Imagine it as an object you are holding in your hands, a stone, a book, a tangled knot. Feel its weight, its texture. Acknowledge it served a purpose today, perhaps it was a motivator, a protector. Now, silently say to it, thank you. Your work for today is done. I release you now. Visualize placing the object gently on a stream beside you, or on a soft night breeze, and watch it float away, dissolve, or drift into the dark. This is not suppression. It is conscious permission to stop holding. This is letting go with wisdom, prajna. Step 4. Metta for the sleeping self. Finally, place your hands on your heart or your belly. Offer yourself the traditional metta phrases, adapted for sleep. May I be safe through the night, protected in body and mind. May I be peaceful, releasing all worry and fear. May my body be healed and restored as I sleep. May I awaken with a heart of ease and kindness. Feel the phrases as a gentle blanket, tucking in your consciousness. Let your breath grow slow and deep. Surrender to the support beneath you. You have swept the temple. You have offered blessings. Now, allow the great silence to enter. A night nurse in Reykjavik, Ellen, taught this practice to her patients struggling with hospital anxiety. The sterile, noisy environment and fear made sleep elusive. She would guide them through this short ritual at lights out. "Put the beeping machines on the stream," she'd whisper. "Put the pain from today on the breeze. Your only job now is to rest." Patients reported not only better sleep but a sense of agency. They weren't just victims of their circumstance, they could participate in their own peace, even there. This ritual does more than aid sleep. It trains the mind in the art of non-clinging. Each night, you practice letting the story of me and my day dissolve. You practice trusting that you do not need to hold everything together through sheer force of mental will. You can let go, and the world, and your being, will continue. This is a profound spiritual lesson enacted in a practical, physical way. And what of dreams? They are the sanctuary's own mysterious activity. Sometimes, dreams process the unprocessed debris you missed. Sometimes, they are pure, creative nonsense. Sometimes, they offer insights. Meet them all with the same upeka. Upon waking, you might simply note, there was a dream, without needing to assign it grand meaning or fear. It, too, is weather in the inner sky. By mastering the transition into sleep, you ensure you arise not from a battlefield of spent neurons, but from a sanctuary that has been cleansed, blessed, and deeply rested. You begin the new day not with the leftover exhaustion of the last one, but from the fresh, clear wellspring of the present moment. Now, having tended to the restoration of the sanctuary, we look outward again, not to the digital sphere or difficult individuals, but to the broader world. How does this inner work relate to the suffering we see on a global scale? This brings us to the practice of compassion without overwhelm. Your sanctuary is built. You can navigate daily friction and find rest at night. But what of the wider world's pain? The news brings stories of conflict, injustice, and ecological grief into our quiet space. To open one's heart to this can feel like opening the sanctuary doors to a hurricane. The result is often either compassion collapse, a numbing shutdown, or empathy exhaustion, where you absorb the world's suffering as a personal burden, leading to burnout and despair. The path of peace must include a way to hold a vast, compassionate heart for the world without being destroyed by it. This is the practice of macroequanimity. First, a vital distinction: compassion is not the same as absorption. Compassion, karuna, is the quivering of the heart in response to suffering, coupled with the wish to relieve it. Absorption is the ego's act of personalizing that suffering, making it my pain to solve, leading to a sense of crushing responsibility and impotent grief. True compassion flows from the clear sky of your awareness, not from the small, identified self. To cultivate this, we use a two-part practice: witnessing and intending. Part 1: Witnessing from the mountain. When you encounter news of a distant tragedy or a pervasive injustice, instead of immediately diving into the emotional storyline, first anchor. Feel your feet on the floor. Take 3 breaths as the mountain. Recognize this suffering as part of the vast, complex tapestry of causes and conditions, paticca samuppada, on a global scale. See it as a storm system over a far-off continent. You are not in the storm. You are the mountain, observing the weather patterns of the world with clear-eyed steadiness. This is not coldness, it is the necessary perspective to be of any use. A mountain cannot stop a hurricane, but it can provide unmovable ground from which to assess and respond. From here, you can feel sorrow without being swept away by helplessness. Part 2. The intention of beneficial action. From this grounded place, ask, what is my right relationship to this? Your right relationship is almost never to hold the entire problem in your personal psyche. It is to find one thread you can actually touch. This is sama vayama, right effort, on a global scale. The intention moves from, I must fix this, to, how can my unique position in the web of life contribute to alleviation? This might look like, for a climate crisis, instead of absorbing the anxiety of planetary collapse, you ground yourself, then choose one tangible action. Reducing waste, supporting a specific organization, educating yourself on a solution. You release the burden of the whole and take up the responsibility of your part. For social injustice, instead of drowning in rage or guilt, you anchor, then choose a point of engagement, donating, having a courageous conversation, examining your own biases. Your action becomes focused, sustainable, and rooted in clarity, not reactive emotion. A teacher in a small town in Kenya, Mr. Aching, saw his students burdened by news of wars and famines far away, feeling both heartbroken and powerless. He taught them this practice. We are not big enough to hold the world's pain, he said. But we are exactly the right size to hold our own response. He had them plant a tree for every troubling news story. The act of digging, planting, and watering was a tangible, life-affirming response. It channeled their compassionate energy into a thread they could actually hold. They learned to witness suffering, then to intend and enact a beneficial action within their sphere of influence. Their compassion became active, not passive, hopeful, not despairing. This practice also requires conscious consumption of information. Just as you steward your energy with people, you must steward your attention with the world's news. This is digital satipatthana applied to media. Check in, is this intake leaving me informed and capable, or drained and hopeless? Set limits. Choose depth over breadth. Read one long-form analysis instead of doom-scrolling headlines. This protects the sanctity of your inner environment so you can be a clear vessel for compassion, not a shattered one. Finally, we practice metta on a global scale. In your meditation, after offering loving kindness to yourself, loved ones, neutrals, and difficult persons, extend it outwards, layer by layer. May all beings in my city be safe, peaceful, healthy, and free. May all beings in my country. May all beings on this continent. May all beings on this planet, in all realms of existence, be safe, peaceful, healthy, and free from suffering. Feel this not as a personal effort to heal 7 billion people, but as tuning your own heart to the frequency of universal goodwill. You are broadcasting a signal of peace from your sanctuary into the collective field. You are aligning yourself with the force of compassion itself. This is spiritually and energetically significant. It changes you, and it changed you interacts differently with the world. Your vast heart, protected by wisdom and expressed through right action, becomes a source of stable, quiet good. You are not the savior of the world. You are a sane, compassionate node in the network, doing your part without claiming the whole. This is the only sustainable way to live with an open heart in a wounded world. Now, we have journeyed from the inner landscape to daily interactions, digital spaces, the realm of sleep, and the global sphere. We have one final integration, embodying this peace as your natural state, so fully that it becomes who you are, not just what you do. We have traveled a long path. We began by discovering the mountain and the sky within. We cultivated gardens of kindness, built bridges of breath, and lit lamps of wise reflection. We established silent harbors and gentle shores. We became lighthouses and learned the language of the centered heart. We navigated digital storms, sanctified our sleep, and learned to hold the world's pain with a vast, unbreakable heart. Now, we arrive at the destination that was always present, the embodiment of this peace as your natural way of being. This is not a final achievement, but a homecoming. It is the moment the practice ceases to be something you do and becomes who you are. Imagine a tree that has grown for decades. In its youth, it focused on survival, sinking roots, reaching for sun, withstanding storms. Now, mature, it simply is a tree. It doesn't try to be stable, its roots are deep. It doesn't strive for openness, its branches are spread. It doesn't practice resilience, it endures seasons by its nature. It provides shade, shelter, and beauty not as an effort, but as an expression of its treeness. Your cultivated peace becomes like this. The practices are the growth rings. The integrated awareness is the mature trunk. Your life in the world becomes the shade and shelter you offer, naturally. This embodiment is marked by three qualities: effortless awareness, compassionate immediacy, and unshakable lightness. Effortless awareness means mindfulness is no longer a technique you apply, but the water you swim in. You are simply aware. You notice tension as it arises, you feel emotion as it washes through, you see thought as it passes, with the same naturalness as feeling a breeze on your skin. The four foundations of mindfulness, satipatthana, are not separate steps, they are the seamless, simultaneous perception of your present experience. You are the knowing, not the known. Compassionate immediacy is your new mode of response. When faced with difficulty, you don't run through a mental checklist of teachings. From the unified field of your sanctuary, the appropriate response arises spontaneously. It might be a breath, a silent metta wish, a clear no, a listening pause, or a firm boundary. It is the right action, sammakamanta, and right speech, samavaka, flowering from the root of wisdom, without internal debate. Compassion for yourself and others is the default setting of your heart. Unshakable lightness is the fruit of anatta, the deep understanding of non-self. When you know you are the sky and not the weather, life's dramas lose their crushing weight. You engage fully, you plan, you work, you love, you grieve, but there's an underlying lightness, a freedom from taking the story of me so seriously. Challenges are met not as personal catastrophes, but as conditions to be navigated. Joy is celebrated without the fear of its loss. There is a pervasive sense of okayness, not because everything is perfect, but because your fundamental nature is undisturbed. An elder in a remote village in the Himalayas, known simply as Amma, Mother, embodied this. Villagers and travelers came to her with every kind of problem: family disputes, illness, heartbreak, petty worries. She rarely gave advice. She would listen, pour tea, and sit in a profound, quiet presence. In her presence, people's storms would settle. They would often find their own answers, or simply leave feeling the problem had shrunk to a manageable size. She wasn't doing anything. She was peace. Her mountain-like stillness allowed others to find their own ground. Her sky-like acceptance gave them space for their own weather. She was a living sanctuary, and her very being was a blessing. You are becoming this. Not a remote sage, but a modern, engaged embodiment of peace. In the office, in your home, in traffic, in solitude, your presence carries a different quality. You are a calming influence not by preaching, but by being. Your peace is contagious. As our journey together closes, let us sit for a final, integrative contemplation. Settle into your posture. Let your eyes softly close. Feel the weight of your body, the gift of gravity. Breathe in, feeling the mountain of your body, rooted, solid, present. Breathe out, experiencing the sky of your mind, vast, clear, open. Breathe in, tending the garden of your heart with kindness. Breathe out, feeling the stream of your breath, constant and connecting. Breathe in, shining the lighthouse of wise seeing. Breathe out, honoring the clear shoreline of your being. Breathe in, resting in the deep lake of equanimity. Breathe out, allowing the lotus of joy to bloom on its surface. Breathe in, aware through the four watchtowers of body, feeling, mind, and thought. Breathe out, choosing the bridge of right effort, step by step. Breathe in, entering the silent grove where nothing needs to be said. Breathe out, feeling the interconnected web of all life, of which you are a vital part. Let all images melt away. Rest in the pure, simple, undeniable fact of aware presence. This is who you are. This is your sanctuary. This is your peace. From this boundless presence, let us offer a final blessing, a wish for the journey ahead, for you and for all. May you walk in the world remembering your true nature as mountain and sky. May your heart be a perpetual garden of kindness, for yourself first, then for all. May your breath always be your anchor, returning you home in moments of storm. May you see with wisdom, act with compassion, and speak with truth wrapped in grace. May you set boundaries with love and embrace silence with power. May you love without clinging and release with trust. May your sleep be deep restoration and your waking be gentle presence. May you engage with the world's pain from a place of unshakable center, contributing your thread to the healing of the whole. May your very being become a blessing, a quiet sanctuary in a noisy world. May you know, Beyond any doubt, that peace is not a place you find, but a presence you embody. May all beings everywhere, without exception, know this peace. When you are ready, gently bring your awareness back. Feel the air on your skin. Hear the sounds around you. Slowly open your eyes, carrying this integrated wholeness with you. You are not leaving this temple. You are it. Wherever you go, there it is. You have everything you need. Thank you for walking this sacred path. The practice continues, not as a task, but as the joyful expression of your true nature. Go in peace. Live in peace. Be peace.